titles. And so Dodgers have done a tremendous job, but they will tell you they have not been able to get that elusive cherry on top, which is a World Series championship. And you see with the additions they've made, they mean business, no doubt. I mean, David Price, Alex Wood, of course, Mookie Betts. Even they've got the speedster Terrence Gore, who they can use in a postseason situation via NTT home plate cam. Harold and Carlos are back. And Harold, you'd have to say the Dodgers are one of the teams, seems like almost every year, but even this year, they're going to have a lot of pressure on them to win a World Series because they're loaded.
Well, they're loaded, no doubt. But I look at it this way. Every year, the Dodgers get down to the World Series or playoffs, and there's that full 162-game fatigue. They've had to battle everybody coming at them every night. That's a team to beat. In a 60-game sprint, imagine Clayton Kershaw going into the postseason throwing only about 10 games. He's going to be locked and loaded, rested, ready to go. And that's a total different Clayton Kershaw than after 32 or 35 starts in the regular season, and now it's carry us through the playoffs. Difficult to do. I just think they're loaded. I think they're healthy. I think this schedule plays a huge advantage to the Dodgers. Carlos, I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, Harold, see, now because of the shortened season, the ebbs and flows of the 162 long marathon is no longer an issue. So I do agree with you that most of these guys are going to be fresh. And when you have these superstars going out there full throttle every single night, like you mentioned earlier in the show, that we may see the best baseball we've seen in a long time precisely because of that, because they're going to be able to push themselves all the way without having concerns of fatigue. Now, having said that, they still have to execute. They still have to come out of the gates extremely strong. And, you know, when a team gets hot, okay, this is going to serve them well in this shortened season. But the flip side of that, if they do not get off to a good start and they kind of slump, then you can really bury yourself very deep into a hole that's going to be very hard to get out of. So the start is going to be key here.
Carlos, does Mookie put him over the edge?
I wouldn't say that. I don't think one player does it. Now, can Mookie Betts put that whole entire ball club in his back and really take him all the way? Yes. But to go out there and say, okay, this is it, they got it, they're going to win a World Series, you still have to go out there and play. What I like about the shortened season, Fran, is the fact that everyone has a chance. So you got to be aware of those low, small market teams that may not be as deep, because they can come out and surprise you. So I am really excited about seeing this type of very intense baseball, aggressive, first to third, holding nothing back. There's no pacing yourself here. I love that.
Okay, Fran, I tell you what, looking at that lineup,
I know,
two things stood out to me, though.
Corey Seager, seventh, by the way. What are we talking about?
Not only that, but here's the two things that stand out to me. Mookie Betts, yes, you love that. But Gavin Lux hitting ninth, okay? Now, all of a sudden, that DH spot. Remember the Jock Peterson trade that did not go through?
Yep.
All of a sudden, you just give Jock Peterson back to the Dodgers and say, all right, you can DH and play every day. We got the outfield we wanted, but now you DH. Hello? I take Jock Peterson in my lineup every day. That's just how much better the Dodgers got with a move that never happened.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny because I saw that potential lineup, and I'm like, where is the weak spot? I mean, that literally could be an all-star team lineup. Definitely.
I want to ask you this question because it was bugging me today. If somebody hits 400 through the end of this 60-game season, how does history reflect that?
They win the batting title. They'll probably want to put an asterisk on it, but it is a shortened season.
I want to put an asterisk by it. I asked you a leading question because I'm telling you, I'm worried about it. Somebody's going to get blistering hot, and somebody might make a run at 400. And let me tell you, it's an amazing accomplishment during a 60-game stretch. Period. Should not be discredited. But it's not hitting 400 over 162 games in 180 days on 6 months of the calendar. It's different.
I totally agree, man. I agree. Hey, look, I had some pretty good 60-game stretches. And you can do some amazing things over 60 games. It's the length of the schedule that really tells you. I go back and look at these 2 years. 88 was an all-star year. 91 was even better. For the 60-game stretch, that's not bad, man. You come out the gate, you're feeling pretty good, and you ride that out. 60 games, you can become a pretty impact player. So, and that's not hitting 400. I felt like I did in those stretches, but to carry it through is amazing. You think about it, Matt, in 60 games, basically Joe DiMaggio didn't make it. He went 56 straight games with a knock. You know, that's pretty impressive stuff to do. But it is not 162 or even 154. It's not the same. It's a different measurement.
Look, Malik Smith won the stolen base title last year. I mean, yeah, that alone is a trivia question that's going to win you a couple of bucks at the water cooler with 46.
Yes.
Now that we're into a 60-game season and that the stolen base is becoming as rare as the dodo bird, what's going to win a stolen base title? A dozen?
I know. Well, I mean, you know my famous story with Ricky. He called me and said I'd have had 60 at the All-Star break. So imagine what he's going to say about somebody with 60 games that win a title with 15 stolen bases. I do think it's going to be interesting, though, how these games are played. Because what you were talking about with Kevin Cash, it's going to be a different style, man. That swing and miss strikeout in the 8th inning with the runner sitting at second base is not going to go over well when you know that you got 60 games to play. I don't want to hear about you trying to hit a home run. Why didn't you get him over and give us a chance, knowing that we got our closer set up to ready to shut him down in the 9th? You know, it's going to be interesting conversations. I think it's going to be great for baseball moving forward. It's going to be fun to watch, and it's going to be how we evaluate it moving forward will be a lot to do with these 60 games.
I'll give you a betting prop right now. How many players are in the big leagues? 750 in regular rosters, regular time. So of the 750 supposed opening day players, if there was a normal season this year, how many of those guys do you think spent the pandemic working on bunting? Over, under 3.5. 3.5 is my over, under.
I mean, yeah, no. I would say that the usual suspects, and even they weren't bunting. They were swinging away. So, no, they're not sitting there working on that. It's I don't know how they're going to figure it out, but they're going to have to.
Well, let's think about this.
What's your one thing that you're going to look at that you're saying this is going to be totally different? Is it the health of a guy, a superstar, that gets quarantined for 14 days? There goes your run. What might it be?
I mean, the one thing that's going to pop out at me is how do players celebrate a big moment and still respect social distancing and not touching and high-fiving and backslapping and all that stuff? Like somebody in a clubhouse or a dugout, maybe it's Bregman, you know, he's a pretty creative guy. Somebody's going to have to think of a new thing, right? Everybody's got like the thing when they get to second base and and this and that, all those little things they do. Somebody's going to have to devise a new thing where no one touches each other and it's still a celebration. Anyway, that's the last thing we have to worry about. By going through what we've learned in the last 24 or so hours. Spring Training 2.0 begins 1 week from today, Wednesday, July 1st. The regular season scheduled to begin July 23rd or 24th. We hope to have some resolution on that in the not-too-distant future. Now, as far as the actual schedule, MLB has submitted a 60-game regular season scheduled for review by the Players Association. It largely features divisional play, with the remaining portion of each club's games coming against their opposite league's geographical division. AL West versus NL West, etc. All that to minimize travel and logistics. There will be some new rules put in place for the season, in addition to the ones that were to be implemented before the pandemic shutdown, though it's not completely official yet. It is widely anticipated that for the 2020 campaign, both leagues will use the DH. And most interestingly, extra innings will begin with the runner at second to try to avoid the kind of marathon games that could really wreak havoc on a compact schedule. Now, last night, the Players Association signed off on the health and safety protocols created by the league, and having read the document myself, I can tell you that the level, the standards of detail and thorough nature of those protections put in place are really impressive. Just as far as a few examples are concerned, coaches and players, uniform personnel will have their own restricted parking, entrance, and exit areas at the ballparks. Bullpen pitchers will warm up with their own baseballs, marked and stored in separate baskets and containers. Therapy tubs in the clubhouses, hydrotherapy, cryotherapy, they'll be scrubbed and disinfected after every use. Road hotels for teams will have catering rooms set up for players, similar to how college football teams do meals the night before game day. Again, the new standards for safety are comprehensive, obviously, right? Otherwise, the PA wouldn't have signed off on it. And for more on that, I'm joined by Harold Reynolds on this special early edition of MLB Tonight. Harold, you've talked at length about how important this component was to an agreement. We've got an agreement, at least on the health and safety stuff on both sides. I know you've looked at the document as well. It's very impressive.
Hey, Matt, first of all, can I get out of my house now?
You're stuck.
And come join you?
We're distancing. You got to stay there, and you can come here tomorrow, and I'll stay home. How about that?
Yeah, I think it's great. But that's an important point, though. Even though baseball's back and we're thrilled about it, there is still distancing. And the protocols, like you talked about, man, they are extensive. And I just want to show people at home some of the things that caught my eye when I was looking at it. You know, no high fives, no guys being able to chew sunflower seeds. But just go down there. You're going to get your temperature checked every time. Antibody testings once per month. You're also going to, if you get sick, you get tested every day. The social distancing. But I want to jump down just to the spitting, the chewing, the tobacco, the sunflower seeds. That's all just habit for ball players. And a ball to be thrown out once touched by multiple players. I mean, fights are strictly prohibited. You get in a fight, you're tossed. But all these things are measures to make sure you get on the field. I also thought it was interesting as you go deeper, there's a COVID-19 disabled list, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously the regular disabled list. So we're going to have some guys, hopefully not, but it's probably, you look at the odds, somebody's going to get sick. They'll have to go into protocol. They will be quarantined. All the things that the measures to get guys on the field is quite extensive. For older players, they're going to come in a different entrance and not be coming in the same entrance as other people. So they're going to the fullest extent to make sure they can keep players healthy and get games played.
Yeah, and again, none of this is saying no player is going to get sick, but the goal here is to cleanse the workplace as properly as possible. And unlike for the rest of us whose workplace is limited to an office or maybe a couple of offices, the workplace for people in uniform in Major League Baseball is an entire ballpark, a clubhouse, a training room, a batting cage, workout facilities. It's a massive project. And again, this document is very thorough. The PA has signed off on it. And on that, everybody has been in agreement.